Hi there. So there's this Bible portion that has been troubling my mind. It's basically living in my mind for the past 6 days now, and I strongly feel led that God wants us, his children, to, really pay attention to it. And it is the book of Matthew, chapter 26, verse 11. It says, and it was Jesus speaking, he said, "You will always have the poor among you, but you will not always have me." So in this place, he was just responding to an encounter that happened. There was this lady that Jesus had, touched her life, and she brought a very expensive jar of perfume and she poured it on his feet, and she was using it to, clean his feet, and using her hair to wash it off and dry it, and she was weeping. She was so grateful. And the disciples were so angry, and they're like, why is it that she's wasting this? We could have sold that perfume for so much money, and we'll use the money to help the poor. And Jesus said, you will always have the poor among you, but you don't have me all the time. So the area I'm trying to focus on, I feel that God really wants us to talk about, is the issue of, you will always have the poor among you. It is a reality. And why is that a reality? It is because there are principles of wealth, and not everybody will follow those principles, even if they know them. And so those that don't follow those principles of wealth creation will end up falling among the statistics of the poor. And we're going to talk about a few of these principles so that you will know whether your struggles points to the fact that you are among the statistics of the poor, and what you can do to come out of that place, because you can actually choose not to any longer be part of the poor. And also, this us talking about those statistics, those principles, will help you to also know whether the decisions you're making or your lifestyle choices are making you to be at risk of those being among the poor among us. The Bible says that God is the one that gives us the power to get wealth. But I think that many of us Christians, we've mistaken it to be that once we are Christians, there's a special miracle God will do. Or maybe there's like a magic wand He'll use to touch our hands, and suddenly whatever we touch will become gold. No, there are principles for wealth creation and wealth, multiplication, and for wealth preservation. And it works not just for Christians, it also works for unbelievers. It works for anyone that puts them into practice. And also, when God talks about the power to get wealth, we know that there's a saying that knowledge is power. But actually, applied knowledge is power, because there are so many things that we know, but we don't do them. For example, those that want to live healthy, we don't always eat healthy. We want to be healthy, but we don't always eat healthy. We don't always exercise, and all the rest of them. So what I'm trying to bring out here is that when it also comes to wealth, there are principles of wealth creation. Prayer will not make you wealthy. Fasting and weeping and denying yourself will not make you wealthy. There are principles. And one of the principles is the principle of seed. If you look at any farmer or any gardener like myself, once I have something that I'm planting, very first harvest, I'm going to preserve the very best of my harvest, and leave them there to ripen and be, ready to be harvested for seed. And that is the mistake that many of us make. Once money comes in, for those of us who are working or you have a business, the money comes in, you're just thinking, oh, I need to buy food, I need to pay this one, I need to do this, I need to do, and before you know it, the money is gone. Many people that are earning so much, we don't put away the seed. You don't put away the seed. So wealth is created not because it's not by whatever is coming in and going out. It's about what it is that you can be able to put aside and invest and multiply. That is what will stay with you. What you're using to eat is not your wealth. What you're using to, pay for school fees is not wealth. You're making other people rich. Those are needs that need to be met, right? We exchange money for value and for needs and for wants too. But we need to be able to put aside one that is your own, that you can multiply. And many of us are not doing that. I remember when I was like a stay-at-home mom here in Canada, money will come in sometimes, okay, but I was not putting aside. I will spend to the last dime. Like there will be nothing, and once there's nothing, not it's very hard to bring in extra, right? Until whenever. Even as an unmarried person, I used to have that encounter. Whenever I spend and spend to the very last dime, nothing comes in. So in the same way, if you just spend and spend to the last, then you'll be in trouble. Because if you're walking along the street and you spill somebody's wares, then in fact, even if they shake you and shake you, you will not have any money to be able to bail yourself out. That's one side of it. No matter how bad things are, you deserve a portion. Just like a gardener, you deserve to put away a portion, no matter how small. Don't let yourself stay without a dime. Okay, that's one. Another one is get rich quick schemes. There are so many of them. Is it MLM or MMM? I don't even know what they are called. I have been a victim. They will be say like, okay, bring money, bring somebody, pay and register people under you. If you are honest with yourself, not even if okay, it seems to be working, before you know it, it gets to a place, everything falls apart. I have lost. People have lost through crypto and many of all those other things. You don't really know how they work, but you say, oh, they said if you do this, it will double your money. We just jump on board. That's another way many of us end up, losing money. Another one is that makes us to fall in that category of the poor among us is impulsive spending. Once money comes in, the first thing we're thinking of, oh, what can I buy? What can I buy? Sometimes it happens to me too. It used to happen to me. Now I know better. I'm not saying I'm perfect yet, but it's something that I am more conscious of, right? Once the money comes in, you spend it all, and then when it's remaining the last dime that will not even reach, you'll be like, oh my God, there was this very important thing I was supposed to do with money, but the money is already gone. So that is it. Also, borrowing or buying on credit. Buying on credit is a form of borrowing. You are spending money that you have not even gotten. You don't even know whether that money will come. And the sad thing is when you now buy on credit, oh, the new shoes, new bag, oh, phone, they're selling this. Okay, give me, don't worry, I trust you. The day that you are unable to pay, Bible says that the borrower will become servant to the lender. You become a servant. You can't even pick your phone when people call. And there's another thing. Over here abroad, you see maybe furniture shops and where they sell TV. They'll be like, you know what, come here. You can come and carry any car you want. Carry any sofa you want. You don't have to pay us anything for 2 years. Then after 2 years, we pay. But then maybe your kids have started peeing on the on the sofa and everything in 2 years. It's time to already replace. And you've not even paid for it. Those are forms of bondage that end up putting us at risk of being, the poor among us. And so that's another thing that we need to think about. Another thing that puts holes in the pockets of many Christians and many people is this is not comfortable. I'm even kind of worried to say it, but I have to say it. Is having way too many children. Many people mistake that command to increase and multiply to just be restricted to having children. There are so many ways you can increase and multiply and find your potentials as a human, but we make that mistake. We think, okay, have more children, and then we keep having children and we're like, oh, among the Igbos they say Chineke na-azụ nwa. God is the one that raises children. And then you see someone that doesn't even have a job or doesn't even have, a source of livelihood or whatever, and they have lots of children. I know that they are even among us, not even talking about those people out there that are just having children anyhow. Even among us, that, okay, don't have a good job, everything. It doesn't mean okay, that you should have so many children. Why do I say that? Beyond the financial side of things, there is the side of being able to be there for the children, to nurture them, to build one-on-one connection with them. Okay, because I've seen a lot of reality shows where people have children and they're like, okay, we are millionaires, we have all the money in the world, we get nannies for all our children, we want to have as many as possible. It doesn't work like that. Even if the money will never go away, there are so many implications of bringing in children into the world that we cannot nurture. Okay, so this is another area for those that are still not financially stable and then they're having children. It becomes a problem. For me and my husband, looking back the way we started, when I had my first child, I was not supposed to. We were not in a place financially to do that, and we did it, and it was a struggle. If not for loved ones that were able to step in and support, and thankfully now we're able to stand on our feet. But not every one of us has that cushion, and sometimes anyway, let me not even go there, but that's one thing I want us to think about. Obviously, if you have children already, that they deserve your love, they deserve your affection. It's not a reason for you to start looking down at them and say you are the source of my problem. No, but it is a call for us to say, if I know I'm struggling with even the one I have or the two, then it's enough. Someone like me, I used to say my mom had 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls, and that's exactly what I'm gonna have. But after I had two, I was like, oh my God, this is really hard, I think I'm done. But then the third one came, so I know that mistakes happen, but let it be that you are conscious that this is one of the ways that money can be going out of your pocket. because you're going to be talking of school fees, so many things. And then as they grow, their needs, even now, they don't even need to grow. Go to nursery schools now in Nigeria and everywhere, like so expensive. So that's another thing you think about. Another final one I want to talk about, because if we want to start talking about these things and delving into it, well, it's going to take all the time, is another one is arbitrary giving or emotional giving. And that happens a lot in our churches. For me, as a church person back in the days, it got to a point where I couldn't make budgets. Because even if you budget and say, okay, I'm going to give this percentage to as tithe, church, family needs, this and that. The one you have even budgeted for need, you will now go there. They will go and bring one firebrand and say, God said, if only you will do this. And then you end up out of, compulsion or, excitement, you go and give it. I've heard of stories of people, giving their house rent, giving their school fees, and then they end up stranded. I have given the money that my mom, a portion of the money my mom gave me for to buy sewing machine when I was learning how to sew. My mom didn't have the money. She squeezed and struggled. 2 times she did that. Anytime I dip money in, hand in that money, it will go, and I wouldn't be able to. And I felt so bad. I have given the money. They say, clear your bank account. I've given all the money in my account when I had a 6 or 7 month old baby that was feeding on cereal, baby cereal. But at least I had a little sense to say, okay, let me just stock the one he needs for maybe 2, 3 months, 2, 3 weeks, pending when the next money that my husband will hopefully send. And the money ended up coming in a little bit late, and it was a struggle. But I learned my lesson. I'm like, I'm not doing this no more. So that's another area where the money is leaking away from. Some people are making so much money and they're not seeing where it's going. So if anything happens, they lose their job, there is a laying off or whatever, that many Christians, many people will end up being stranded. Many people that are driving big cars and all that, there's no money, there's no savings. So it's something that God really wants you to think about. Yes, the Bible said that the poor will always be among us, but you have the right, you have the freedom of choice, you have the free will to choose not to be among that statistics of the poor among us. So that's something, and there are so many other things we could talk about that makes people to fall among the category of the poor among us. But and maybe the one that is your own problem may not even be among the things I mentioned, but this is a sign for you to go back to the drawing board. Maybe God has even been telling you about something that you do that is also taking money away from your pocket or affecting your ability to earn or your ability to multiply whatever is coming in and all that. It's time for you to go back to the drawing board. You don't want to be among the statistics of the poor among us. You can thrive in the midst of the poverty. You can thrive in the midst of the hardship. It's not about how much is coming in. It's about how much you're able to retain after making reasonable expenses that you need to make to fend for yourself and your family. So I'll just leave this one here, and I just hope that this was able to be a blessing to you in some form. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.